Welcome to the Bear Rumble Podcast, your home for everything BHP football. Each week, we dive into the greatest games, preview what's coming next, and share the stories that make Belton Honeypath Bears football special. From legendary coaches to unforgettable moments, this is where Bear Nation comes together. This is the Bear Rumble Podcast.
Welcome back, Bear fans, to another episode of the Bear Rumble Podcast. I'm your host, Kayne Evans, and we have a special episode for you this week. We are joined by the head man himself, Coach Russell Blackston. We talk about family, legacy, huge wins, and where the program is right now. So strap in for this one as we get in the mind of the big man himself. So without further ado, let's jump on in with Coach Blackston. All right, Bear fans, this week we have a guest that needs no introduction. It's the big man, head man in charge, head coach Russell Blackston. Coach Blackston, thanks for being here with us this week.
Thank you so much, and thank you for everything that you do for BHP football. I tell you what, your job, the work that you do does not go unnoticed, and I think that's really helped put us on the map even more.
That's great, and that's why we do it. You know, it puts you guys first. I know a lot of times being back in that corner of Anderson County, we might get overlooked sometimes. So we want to try to do our best for all those guys, their hard work. And I know you feel that same sentiment. Those guys work so hard and want to get them their best fit forward. So thanks for saying that, Coach. So with that, let's go ahead and we'll jump into some questions. We got a few for you tonight to get into the mind of the head guy. So first off, I did a little digging. I found that you're one of only 7 current head football coaches in the state of South Carolina who has been the head coach at their current school throughout all classifications. So one of 7. What has it mean to you to, one, come up as an assistant at BHP, take over as the head coach, and now being in your 15th year as the head guy? What has that journey meant to you coming up and now that you're here, year 15 for you?
I tell you what, one thing, it's without a doubt the best place to ever raise a family. I've had some opportunities here and there, but it just all knew what was best for my wife, my kids, and, what we were able to do. Belton Honeypath High School is a special place. It's a unique place. It's a place where, we don't have to compete against another high school in our district. Yeah, we have to compete against 7 other ones in our county. But, I've heard all the horror stories about 3 high schools in one school district and 4 and 2, and then the 14 or 15 in Greenville County. And I just kind of get to compete against myself. I've really enjoyed that. 10 years as an assistant, I was Wayne Green's first hire. And, now 10 years later, the difference between a Monday and a Friday, I'm the head coach of BHP is the way it went in 2010. So it's been real fast.
What keeps you motivated? Being, like we said, year 15, what keeps you motivated?
Well, I like to compete. I like to work. I like to see kids get their absolute best out of themselves. Up at Clemson, Dabo's used best as the standard. And even when I coached you, Kayne, you could hear me saying best underneath the chutes. Best. And I just like to pull the best out of individuals. I like to take a kid further than he thinks he can go. I like to push the limits. I like to make it hard. I teach them so much that, after this is the easy part. The life after football is what's hard. This is the easiest part it'll ever be. And, that's what I try to teach them. It's a new group every year. I mean, the same motivation didn't work last year. It doesn't even really work next week. You just got to stay consistent in your core values so you have the opportunity to make a difference in a young person's life.
Yep. Well, within that, have you changed, and what maybe have you changed throughout these years? I'm sure growth is part of it, but what have you noticed for you personally? How have you grown?
Well, the biggest thing is, starting off at BHP and then having my kids and, so many things that I missed because I felt like BHP was so important to me and, so many things my wife had to do. I mean, I couldn't do what I did if it wasn't for my parents and my wife, and I just stressed to these coaches, man, I says, our first Sunday meeting, the first thing I ask them about is family. How's everybody's immediate family? And then, the next thing, ask about their kids and, I miss so much in all those years, and something I've regretted. And I just make sure that my staff knows that family has to be first. It's carried over to our football team. We've done the family shirts before, but it's something we've done about 3 or 4 years in a row now. And, I try to always tell them family's always first. And, even as much time as we can spend together, we've got to be a tight knit bond too. And I kind of see that with this team. I really do.
Yeah, and that leads me. I was going to hit on family as a whole theme, but that's one of the ones that I see throughout your coaching tenure. I see your parents on the sidelines, see them every Friday night. Your wife, kids there, coached your kid. But what I really notice is how involved the whole coaching staff as a family. They're involved in the program. It's not go sit in the stands and I'll meet you after the game or anything like that. Just how is that where you want to invite that whole group, both your family, their families, into the program as a whole? What's that really done for you guys?
You just make it open, I tell our coaches and their kids and their wives are always welcome. Each position group usually has them over to their house once or twice during the year. I do a senior cookout at the beginning of the year. My mother will make honey bun cake once or twice a year for them. Different churches come in to and donate pregame meals, or the senior parents does something. It's just, I tell them it's unique, and, don't ever take it for granted. Always find a way to be thankful. And I kind of stress that, we have every position group, when they finish practice, they go find their position coach to talk about goods,
Mm-hmm.
bads, uglies, and all that kind of stuff. And you got to talk to kids now. I mean, it ain't like it used to be where you can just be so hard. And to me, and it's what's changed me more, for every negative that I have, or a hard coach, however hard I coach them, I try to come back with 1 to 2, 3 positives. I try to reward the positives 10 over,
Mm-hmm.
because, those are the kids we got. We don't have any recruited kids. I can't lose
Mm-hmm.
any. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's all in a nutshell. Plus, like I said earlier, we're just, about any path high school's it in our school district. And, we're blessed that these kids grow up wanting to be a Bear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see that where you have to walk that fine line, but I think that's one of those things where you guys do such a great job of showing these guys it's not the play on the field. Yes, you want to coach them hard on that stuff, but you follow them through all the way through. So I can see it from 30,000 feet. So I know they can feel it when they're in the building with you. So I want to talk about this. You're kind of known for maybe call them Blackstonisms, those little sayings. Tough people win. Best is yet to come. Always a bear. Once a bear, always a bear. What is that? What are your top ones? Let's start there. What's the top ones that you recite to everybody?
Back in the day, you remember take a ride on Space Mountain when it was getting ready to make a play, Now I've got a few. I mean, I don't know. It's just something in my simple mind that I have that I believe in. Even if we had won the state championship last year, even if we won it, heck, the best is still yet to come the next day. A lot changed with me after 2012 when I went to that sickness that I had. And there's one of my neighbors here is not with us anymore. Juki Blake. He would, every time I would see him, he'd say, "Hey, how are you doing, sir? My 10 toes are on the ground and I'm going to make it the best day." And that's what I try to instill in these kids. The best is yet to come. I mean, if we won the darn thing last year, or even the year before, something better's going to come out there. Next day's a new dollar. We got to go earn it and got to go make it. Tough people win. I kind of been one of the things that I've kind of came up with, you know, probably about 2012 or so. Monday's about bringing the juice. We've got to bring the juice to practice on Monday to get better. Tuesday's tough people win was where we pointed ourselves. We pointed our teammate. And the guy across from me I'm scrimmage against that whole day, or lifting weights with. Wednesday's will to win, Thursday's teammate Thursday, and Friday's finish Friday. When you've been coaching long enough and you go to as many clinics as I've been to, you hear a lot. And I tell our players all the time, if you ever hear somebody speak, you guys may be smarter than I am, but let's find one thing that we can remember and that'll help
Mm-hmm.
you get better. And those are a bunch of the one things that I've heard. And the best, I mean, I think I got that. I've been doing that forever, and kind of picked up on the best is yet to come in the past 10 years or so. And I just believe that is, the world's tough. Life's tough. The games are tough. Rep 9 on the 10 rep set of squats tough. If there's not sweat coming off that eyebrow, you're not getting nothing done. So there's a bunch of them.
Which one do you think your players connect with the most? Which one do you see them connecting with?
I probably see right now, your tough people win and your best is yet to come, because that's kind of what I tag on everything that I send out or talk about or break it down. Those there, sir.
Absolutely. All right, let's look at maybe some of the on-field action now. Not to open sore wounds or anything like that, but looking back before last year, BHP, it seemed like playoff heartbreaks they came a little more than we wanted them to. So thinking of that 2014 South Point game, or Greenville in 2019, or Daniel in 2023, how has some of those maybe disappointments fueled how you've coached these last few years, or has it done anything for you?
Well, yeah, it's changed tremendously. Being my 31st year coaching high school football, if you win one game in the playoffs, it's a blessing. And so many times these young people think you get to game 10 and then, it's not over, but I got playoffs, and you never feel the excitement in the playoffs until you get that taste of that first victory. Then as soon as you see a happy side and a sad side, that's when you understand what the playoffs is all about. We had a couple of first-round exits as I was assistant. Had one or two here, when I was the head coach. Then, the heartbreak at the end, of the Daniel game, 2 years ago, and, then getting to the state championship, not winning it. I mean, there's only going to be one happy one at the end of the year in high school football, and that's the one standing there. I think that's the drive that you got to have. You've got to learn never to take it granted. You've learned you got to get your rest when you can get rest. You've learned that when to get a person out of the game and limit the carry load, and to make sure you get your kids to the dance, the teams to the dance. My practices are nowhere near as physical as they used to be, because, we're blessed. Every time I talk to another coach, all I talk about injuries. But I feel like that's due to our strength and conditioning program. We pick when we want to be extremely physical in practice. We tell them whether it be a full tackle tempo, thud tempo, track tempo, offense on hand shields. Feel like we got to get our kids to the dance, and I think that's where the best is yet to come, because we haven't been there since 2004. We got there, and we didn't get to the spot, and we'll keep striving, we'll keep chopping wood, see what we can become. I told our team today, I'm so pleased where we've come to. I'm anxious to see what we can really become in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking back on those early years or those mid years, even your time as assistant, do you see a turning point where some of those wins starts going your way, or things fall into place a little more? I know that's a loaded question. We went to the upper state last year, but
it's a hard one to answer. I mean, a lot of times it's about matchups too. I mean, if a team throws the ball well and you don't defend the pass well, if they run the ball well, you don't defend the run. Some of those are to those types of things. It's what happened Kendall Joseph's senior year. The team was great at passing, and plus they had Debo Samuel, and I thought we were a better football team head to toe. They had 3 better players than we had. And, and then they turned around and win the thing in 16 and 19. And those were some of the years. HP, I'll be honest, they would have more state championships if we didn't get moved around in classifications. I can sit and I can go back and look at the times we were up in 4A with South Point, go to South Point losing overtime, back down to 3A, back up to 4A. You've seen it all. But, at the end of the day, it's just going to be the best that we can be, man. And that's what we do. It don't matter who we go up against, who we see. We're going to go out there and try and compete. My favorite role has always been the underdog role. And it's hard to play the underdog role when they put you up there at number 1 from preseason all the way to now, and now we're playing the Superman role, the top dog role. Everybody's trying to get their best out of you. So it's a different time. It's different motivation. It's different things that you're, looking to go out there and be successful at. I know I really didn't answer your question, but that was a hard one. gonna go out and be the
Gotcha.
best we can be on that night. And yeah, we went up against some good teams, had some unfortunate circumstances, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And what's Kirby say when they asked him if what it feels like to have the target on his back? He said, "We'll never have the target on our back. We're always the hunter." And it definitely seems like BHP's turned into that of these last few years. So let's talk about last year. What an incredible season! Upper state championship, only the second upper state championship win in school history. What did that mean to you? What do you see that it meant to the team as a whole? And then just about the game. It was a strange game, starting not really knowing where we're going to play early in the week, and then the chill that came through. What's your memories of that game last year?
Well, I have fond memories of the upper state championship game being so cold, and that thing went from Newberry College to Hillcrest High School, and playing well enough to win it the whole game, then playing bad enough to lose it. Colby Bates coming up and get those 2 interceptions, and Marquez Henderson getting through a hole about the size of a dime and not even touched to go 80 yards down the sideline, and then the fumble at the end of the game where you got to scoop up and score. I thought our kids showed some character there in that game. And, things I learned about that game, it rained all week, the week of the state championship. I knew we were going to play on turf. We hadn't played on turf yet. We called up Clemson. They told us we could come and practice at 8:00 that night. We do. Looking back on it now, it was a bad thing because we got back at 10 and the kids got back home at 11, had school the next day. Look at that as the greatest. Wanted to get on turf again, and we went over to AU, and they was gracious enough to let us go there and do it like 9 a.m. one morning or something like that. And that was very good for us, and that worked out well. I still, to this day, believe we did the right thing waking up at having the kids bus leave at 6 a.m. on the day of the state championship. We got where we practiced at 8 a.m., and then, all that part was good. The locker room setting was absolutely awful. It was just a little tunnel. It was 2 little tunnels. You never could have the kids together at the same time. If you had to meet, you had to do it outside. Gave you your 10 o'clock window to get in. Push aside, pulled in right before we did, so you had to wait on them to get off. And then it was 10:15. Then the game festivities started and all that kind of stuff. When the game started, football was football. Just had some things happen in the game. The kickoff that they scored a touchdown. They kick it off to us. We mishandled the ball. They score there. Our quarterback breaking his collarbone. Then the heroics of the game was coming back and trying to get it competitive. Our kids didn't lay down. They didn't quit. I think the quarterback from Oceanside probably had one of the best games of any high school quarterback I've seen. I think he's only incompleted like 7 passes total for the whole game, I believe. And, unbelievable, it really was. So I tip your hat to them on that day. And you just got to think about what could have been if you made it. And, I still feel like the best is yet to come. So I'm not going to cry over any more spilled milk about it.
Yeah, especially with those guys coming back this year, what did you want them to take, at least for anything that you talked about after the game? What did you want them to take coming out of that game?
Well, I played for a state championship my junior in high school. We lost. Hartsville beat us 29-10. And I remember every single thing about the game, the snap, the getting a medal and all that kind of stuff. And I just wanted our kids to know how proud our school was and our community and of them. And, the world's not over just because we lost right there. And I wanted the young kids to see the hurt on the seniors' faces and know that they're, I tell the guys all the time, at some point your ball's going to go flat. I want them to see it. I wanted to do it. We talked a lot about it. The way the school year went, as soon as we finished the state championship, heck, we had 4 more days of school, and then it was Christmas break. You didn't see them again on the 1st of January. Then it was a whole new set of kids in weightlifting. We had to set the standard, set the tone. And, it was, hey, we got to get back to work to see if we can put another product on the field. And kids work so hard in the off season. Myself and Coach Smith worked the football class, and then I have 2 other classes I worked with in the spring. And wanted to make sure we get, and Coach Rogers is in there too. Wanted to make sure we got all our kids able to lift, whether it be during study hall or first period, second period, or fourth period, or after school. Had a good summer with them doing that. I had a good competition season this summer, and just feel like that we continue wanting to coach them as hard as we did to get us to this point. And we still wanted to go back to work. And, one of those seniors, man, we sat down and told the seniors about how they got a chance to be the winningest class in school history, and now they are. That number's still counting. It'll be unbelievably hard to match.
Mm-hmm.
But, those kids like to compete. That's something different about this team is there's 3 times this year I didn't know if we was going to be ready to go in the game. And all 3 of those times, now I can easily tell when we were ready, but through the week of practice, as soon as it gets 7:20 and it's time or 7 o'clock for bed jumping jacks, you can really tell. And our kids, we've changed our practices a little bit. We have a championship period that we call it. We have 2 periods. One's called a dirty show, and that dirty show is 4 plays of best on best with different situations, whether it be goal line, 1st and 10, 3rd and 7s, and then now since we've been so physical and kind of got to where we do a championship period, it's the best wide receiver against the best defensive backs, as many as we can do, 2 quarterbacks going, as many reps as we can do, because to me, that's what we're going to have to do to get back to the promised land is make sure we shore up the receiving game and it's defending the pass game. So those are things I feel like I've learned.
Absolutely. Let's talk about this season. Personally, the product that you put out, just total domination. I understand you play who's on the schedule, but just complete domination. I know internally you believe that this team had great potential. I think outside of the program, a lot of people had questions about the amount of graduates that you had, how many seniors you graduated last year. What is a part of that credit you put the credit that you put to the success of this year so far?
Last year we graduated 24 seniors or so, and this year we got 23. I can remember one of our players shaking the MVP's hands last year and said, good luck. And one of our own players at BHP says, we're not going to be here. Marquez Henderson's graduating. I stress that a lot. I talked to him, yes, Marquez had 8,000 rushing yards and over 100 touchdowns, but, we got 6 guys on the offensive side and 6 guys on the defensive side that tremendous state championship play, and we knew what we were graduating. We knew, our JV team is 9-1, 8-1 the previous 2 years, and they run the same stuff we do. We bring Belton, Milton, and Honeypath together and get to work there. And our current JV team 6-1 or 7-1 and 6-1. So it's just, in my gut, I knew what we had. I knew it. I told my wife, we were going to be fine, and it just goes to our kids that they like to compete. Okay, those 3 in the middle on the offensive front are as good as anybody's got in the state of South Carolina. Those 3 are. They really are. I think that, the right tackle and Carter Burgess has shocked everybody that we've played. Where did this JV kid come from? The kid can run, he can move, and he's just nasty. He's a good player. And the other left tackle, McCray Pruitt, JV player, and up, was competing, going well. And not many of us knew what Nick Sargent was going to be. We're a tight end team, and, we had spent some time in the spring. Maybe we don't have a tight end. We'll go with 3 receivers and an H-back. We knew what Brody Riddle was going to be. We knew that because he was that last year's sophomore. But, old nasty Nick Sargent, man, he's just gotten better. And yeah, that's a testament to it. On the defensive side, Kanaze Bryant's a senior, never been a starter really, but he's getting better every single week. Dude's 6'4", 250 pounds, number 85. And go on the defensive backfield, D. Chester. He was our 3rd corner last year as a junior, started the year off as a corner and, and then threw 7-on-7. So this guy's ticket might be safety. He's had 3 or 4 picks here lately and the big hit against West Side and picking up the score. There's just so many kids I can step up and say that about. Hey, the other corner, number 12, Dejon Walker, freshman and sophomore playing a program, didn't play as a junior. Hey, dude's playing lights out as a senior, And just a lot of those kids are stepping up. That whole running back room when MJ was hurt, they stepping up. Noah's better. Noah Thomas is a much better quarterback right now than he was last year. There's just so many kids you can step up. And then the kicker, too, with Benji Ward, it's better. So, the 6 starters we got coming back, they're better because of another year experience. And then some of the surrounding cast today, I got to elevate to their play. You getting me a little jacked up on Mountain Dew, baby.
There you go. Hey, next man Duff. I think I've heard that one before. And and exactly what's happening there. Well, I want to give you a little room here, and I know these guys mean a lot to you. You mentioned a good many of them, but talk to me about this senior class. those 4-year stars, like you said, already broke the most wins in a 4-year period. The only senior class that have a chance at 4 consecutive 10-win seasons. Just what makes this group so special?
Well, I can just remember just like it was yesterday, was coming off of the 3-3 COVID, the 4-7 year after that. And that spring, we didn't get a single first down in practice. We didn't do it. Kind of like your sophomore, your junior year. We went all the way through preseason. Your sophomore year went all the way through preseason, didn't score a point in preseason contests. We just knew there was some work to do. And I really believe that them 3 4-year starters kind of put this program back where it needed to be. And Keelan Dixon, Kylan Dixon, 61, 66, and also Keegan Marshall, number 60. Those 3 right there just kind of put this thing back together. Was it ugly to start with? You daggum right. It was bad when we first got them, but we knew we had a little bit of talent around there because Marquez rushed for about 800 yards as a sophomore. And we said, shoot, we're just going to find a way to go out there and get Quez the ball. We're going to block down and kick out. I think there's a lot of names in there. You know, Eli Strickland's to you. You know, a bunch of kids in there that stepped up and did some good things in there. But I'll tell you a funny story. That was all the years I was athletic director, Jakari Anderson's mom, coached basketball, Coach Trainham and those guys. I told a story to the team the other day. Jakari was a fat little kid, and he was always in there shooting basketball where he wasn't supposed to be. And he'd be getting kids to go down there in the aux gym and kept having to run him out. But Jakari's just so happy and so much fun to be around. And he's got good energy, play both sides of the ball. Those senior class, they really are special because we've been together for so long. Got so many games under our belt, so many bus rides and working together. And so many have played, you know, so many of them are 3-year starters or even 2-year starters. So they've kind of put this thing on the map, and we have a lot of senior classes after this to chase them.
Yeah, they're leaving a big legacy. I know that much. I know not only just with what's on the field, but how they're shaping the guys that are playing around them. It's not that I haven't seen it in other classes, but the camaraderie that these guys have with both their own grade and then everybody, all the underclassmen, how everybody cheers for everybody else. I think really led by this group. And I think Kevin even mentioned how, and you mentioned tonight, how competitive this group is. I think a lot of them, you were talking about having to motivate. I think one of the motivation is, yes, Marquez graduated, but we're here and we want to compete and we want to do it as better as we did than we did last year.
100%, sir.
All right. So let's talk about, I got 2 more and then we'll do a quick little lightning round. Coaching at BHP. So you've been around BHP for a while. What makes this place a little different for you?
Well, I think it's just, you know, the opportunity to be in a one school district, high school, everybody come to the games, you know, what our stadium atmosphere is like versus other stadiums we travel to and their stadium atmosphere is like. We got tremendous support from our athletic director and Coach Lee Croy and our principal, Mary Bush, our superintendent, Jason Johns, and our school board. You know, I guess the biggest thing is, you know, how many coaches I've got that played for me or played at BHP. You know, that's one thing that makes it special. You know, even when I first was hired here, you had a ton of people around that had BHP ties, and we still got a large number on the staff, and I think that's what makes it special.
Absolutely. And watching on Friday nights, I go back and think about that upper state championship. I think about that state championship, how that community shows up for this team. It's they will pour in just as much as the effort that the players put in, it seems like sometimes. How's it when you guys can go on the road and show up and double the other side attendance just by the people who come to see the Bears play?
Well, that's in every sport we have at BHP, just not football. When I was a wrestling coach, I did that 10 years, and we'd have more people there than any team there. And do the same thing in baseball when Steve Williams was playing for state championships. It just goes back to show you what small town pride, you know, town pride is. You have to compete with the other stuff that everybody else has to compete with. And, you know, that's just what kind of makes us unique. That makes us what we are. We're kind of a blue-collar, hard-working town, you know, and just anxious to see, you know, every Friday night, we call it Bear Nation. You know, Bear Nation is something special. There's nothing different in Bear Nation. And a lot of that came from the people who's worked there. You know, Harley Gambrell, I mean, still, I can hear him say it to this day, BHP is my life. To all the people around Shane Gaines, a lot of them's been there since They graduated high school with press box, the radio announcer. A lot of them's doing the same thing they've always done for about 40 years. So just blessed in that respect. That's where a lot of school pride comes from.
Yep, absolutely. It's felt. I definitely know that. All right, last one. Let's talk about maybe some of your memories. You've been here over 2 decades. You got a lot of games under your belt. Coached a lot of kids. What are some of those moments that have stuck out to you in your mind?
Well, number one, when I get hired to BHP in 2000, I go out there and look on the scoreboard and see the last time BHP's won a region championship was 1977. And 23 years later, I'm coming to work at BHP, a place that hadn't won a region championship since 1977. I'm like, what the heck's happened? Because when I came crested to BHP, it's no joke. I thought I was at Florida State, the size of the kids, the speed, and all that kind of stuff. It was completely different than coaching. The Crescent was 2A then, and it's completely different. And I can remember the seniors there talking about, John Burnett, Jamie Ormby, those guys talking about, Daniel. And, yes, I knew about Daniel's success they had in the 90s and all that kind of stuff. But seeing us finally be able to beat Daniel and Michael Ballantyne running the fullback belly for about 60 yards for a touchdown, that night was truly special because you could see in the community, and all the old timers were coming to the games. That one stuck out a lot. I think when I was rest of them, mostly I was the head coach. And I won at Clinton one time with Mark Hill, a kid we got out catching a little flood route from the tight end fullback spot at Clinton. Think about it's blank. But A.B. Reese catching one over at Greenville, and Wilson catching one against Greenville. There's been a lot of games that come down to it and a lot of young men making special plays. Think about, Anthony White, school rushing record, 409 yards and 5 touchdowns. What a night. Carried about 38 times. Probably one of the last running backs I've had that got to carry that many. Think about that night. One average 373 yards. R.J. Ellis is 350 yards. There's a lot of running back. Quez has been over 300 a couple of times. Think about some of those linemen that have just been phenomenal blocking and tackling, up front, Kendall Joseph and Eric Boggs and, Jake Cates. A lot of good players have come through here. And blessed, even my son was a great player here. It's great to see him play on both sides of the ball. We never really knew. We just kept trying to find positions and every year he fit somewhere BHP needed and had a need. It's not that we wanted him to play linebacker. We wanted him to play tight ends. What did BHP need? I said, well, my son was going to do it. And it started off as a sophomore, as a tight end with a long snapper even, and, went out and had a phenomenal career and played some really good football for us. And, real proud of that. And every coach, gets into coaching, hopefully one day to coach your son. And, man, that was really special there, getting to coach him. And my best friend and Chris Strickland, his son. My best friend and Kevin Smith, his son. Gil Cade, a good friend, his son. And that's been really unique as well. It's been a special opportunity.
Yeah, you're gonna have to hold on for Jenkins and a Rogers coming through, coach their sons too. Coach both of them, coach. All right. Well, thanks for that. Let's do a quick lightning round, and then I'll get you out of here. I know it's getting late. Got 5 of them. So, which one do you like more? Getting a win in front of a packed out Marley Gambrill Stadium, or the Bears taking over an opponent's field and getting a win on that road territory?
Well, anytime it's a win, it's special. I love being a road warrior, and I'm not answering your question because I love winning. Just like my mama says, everybody asks me, who's your rival? All of them are, because I want to beat all of them. So, I want to win on the road, I want to win at home.
All right. All right, if we're playing December 5th, what's that song playing in your head as you walking into the stadium?
Kid Rock, Bob with the Bob.
There you go. All right, what's your favorite?
Hey, we started that in January. Our finisher song to get kids speeding up, working the last 2 minutes of weightlifting. And them kids actually play it every day.
There you go. What's your favorite Blackstonism?
Man, just being me, saying what comes off your heart and your chest because you mean it, because you love kids and you love working with them. I say whatever needs to be said to motivate kids and get them to laugh. football's so hard that, that you got to create some excitement. That's where a lot of them come from. I'm not being serious about that.
Absolutely. You got a favorite uniform combo?
Man, we're so blessed with all of them, man. Right now, it's the new blue jerseys and red pants. That's sharp.
All right. You got one word that describes this football team?
Nasty.
There you go.
They played nasty. They played physical.
I think that's one that you would take for every one of your teams. I think that was one of the ones that kind of showcased what you wanted to put on the field. Even the time from when I was back under the tutelage. But I definitely see that. I think competitiveness. I think you instill
100%.
that. I think, like you said, family. We see all of those. All of that is just a testament. What comes out on Friday night is just a testament of what you put into this program. We're so thankful for that. We're proud of you. We're excited to see you. And hopefully we got some more games coming later in the year. So we're excited for those. I know one of the things I put last week, every week from here on out, is to win a championship, is to get you there. So region or state. So we're excited to see that road. Thank you, Coach Blackston, for being here with us. But I do got to give me your best. How about them Bears before you leave?
How about them Bears, baby?
I hear you, Coach. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We'll talk with you later.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Kayne. Thank you all for what you do for BHP.
Well, once again, thanks, Coach Blackston, for being here with us on this episode. Thanks for the great insight, both into the program, his journey, and even this team this year. We're excited for you, and we believe just along with you that the best is still yet to come for the Bears. And for you, Bear fans, thank you for being here with us this week. Thanks for joining us. We ask that you subscribe, tell others about the podcast, and then also follow us on thembears.com. We house all of the season stats, both team and individual. We also have historical game stats. We also have records. And we also, each week, we post a long form blog post where we go a little more in depth in the previous game and a preview of the upcoming game. So if you like that long form writing, feel free to jump into that. And then lastly, we just want to ask that you follow us on Friday nights where we live tweet the games on X. We also put on the final score and stats on Facebook. But once again, Bear fans, thanks for being here with us. Like always, how about them Bears?